Welcome to episode 62 of Insects for Fun, the weekly entomology podcast covering all things insect and arthropod. Oh, that's new. Yep, I have now opened the floodgates for all arthropods, and today we will be looking at just one of many oddballs commonly called a house centipede. House centipedes are a group of arthropods in the order Scutigeromorpha, which happens to be one of many centipedes. But these ones don't resemble a centipede at all, and they actually look and share more similarities with insects, such as full compound eyes and long jointed legs. Compound eyes means that they can detect movement at incredible speeds, and their vision is actually super blurry. Imagine looking at a wall of monitors, and each monitor is showing the same image. It's super easy to notice when something is moving, but you can forget about having a nice big clean image. And speaking of clean images, the house centipede is definitely not a sight for the faint of heart, especially for those who are scared of creepy crawlies. Their bodies are only between 1 and 1.5 inches in length, and they're pretty slender, but they have 15 pairs of legs, which are very long and surround the entire body, making them appear much larger. The hind legs are actually longer than the forelegs, so they can overlap while running without getting tangled. And females have two extremely long legs at the very back of their bodies, which act as secondary antennae. Honestly, if you've seen one before, you'll never forget how it looks, because they're really wild. They also happen to be incredibly fast, reaching speeds of 0.4 meters per second, or 1.3 feet, which is pretty good, and they can traverse almost any surface. There are 25 genera, which means there are at least 25 species, but I honestly can't say how many there are. The most well-known species is Scutigera Coleoptrata, with Scutigera in reference to a shield, and the Coleoptrata part is like Coleoptera, which is the order for beetles, because these centipedes have a thorax that's kind of similar. But where did these things even come from? And where can you find them now? Well, house centipedes actually originated in the Mediterranean, but are now commonly found throughout the world. And because they live in homes and close to humans, it's pretty easy for them to travel. That being said, house centipedes don't just randomly appear in our homes. They started out in the wild like the roaches from the last episode, and these guys prefer to live in damp, cool, and dark places, like under logs, tree bark, rocks, etc. They're nocturnal and are rarely seen during the day. I personally almost never see them in the wild, but I've encountered them in buildings. Actually, the first time I saw one was when I was in 4th grade at school. I had no idea what it was, but it was so crazy looking to me that I really wanted a closer look. Now, these things are incredibly fast, as I mentioned, and I had no such luck. Another feature to house centipedes, which adds to their swiftness, would be tracheal lungs. And with these, the centipedes can breathe while on the run. Okay, so now we know where they started and where they dwell in nature. But why our homes? Well, you'll be happy to know that these critters don't care about your food, books, or furniture. The house centipede is a predator and prefers live food, which it has no problem catching, by the way. And because of this, you usually only encounter them in your home if you've got another problem, like roaches, bedbugs, silverfish, etc. Having these guys around in your home is actually quite helpful, and they can't hurt us at all. Think of them as a creepy Roomba for arthropod pests, but with a turbo mod. Now, some people fear that the creatures can bite you and are venomous, but have no fear, they can't do damage to us at all. And honestly, they don't want to either. House centipedes are shy, and even when handled won't be aggressive. That being said, they do actually contain venom, which is only potent enough for small arthropods like roaches. They can't really bite either. Centipedes have two modified forelegs called forcipules, and they're used to slow down prey that has been captured by their other legs. One article I read states that these centipedes wrangle their prey like cowboys, using their legs as lassos to corral and catch their victims. She also mentioned that she handles them all the time for her research and has never once been attacked. You know, something funny actually I've noticed is that the majority of my listeners are women. Are you surprised? I really do think men are actually more afraid, to be honest. And a study done in 2019 found that out of 2,000 Americans surveyed, a larger percentage of men claim to be very afraid of insects. Now, I'm pretty sure I haven't said that before on the show, but if I did, sorry. It's actually hard to keep track of all the small pieces of information I've written and said when it's really just me doing this. Anyway, house centipedes move around the world by hiding in furniture, like rugs or even couches. But please don't go tearing into your couch looking for something, because there's a really good chance you don't even have them. House centipedes start their life as an egg and go through a series of molts, just like insects. They have 10 molts to be exact, and for the first 5, they grow new legs. The first instar of a house centipede only has 4, and the next molt has 6, with the other 4 molts adding 2 new ones each time. And here's the crazy part. They can live up to 7 years. Yeah, that's extremely long for something that is similar to an insect. And it takes them 3 years to reach sexual maturity. Now, I saw something online stating that they prefer winter outdoors, but I feel like whoever wrote that probably lived in a tropical climate where summers are unbearable. I mean, even Florida to me in the summer is pretty unbearable, and I'd much rather be indoors with air conditioning. If you live in a colder climate like New England, then you can be sure they're spending those winters indoors, especially because they actually can't tolerate colder temperatures. It's a surprise at all that they made it up past Mexico, but I guess being fast and nocturnal has allowed them to stay out of harm's way, and in close quarters to people. Which brings me to my final point. If you do indeed have this in your home, and you see them quite frequently, that means you have a much bigger problem. To remove house centipedes, you need to first remove their food. And like I said, if they're around, that means that you have enough of an actual pest problem which lured them there in the first place. And that's not an easy task. As always, regardless of the pest insect, if it's a lot, then you're better off getting a professional, as opposed to turning your home into a Home Alone film against insects. And with that, this concludes today's episode. And as always, if you enjoy the show, please make sure to rate it and give a review. It really helps boost the show a lot. If you want more Insects for Fun content, you can find it at patreon.com/insectsforfun. And I actually have a shout out this episode for our new Patreon member, Joseph. Thank you so much. All the support goes directly into growing the show so I can spend more time making content for you. If you'd like to send me an email, you can do so at insectsfordummies@gmail.com. And of course, there is the Instagram and Facebook page where I upload pictures of all the things I talk about. Thanks again for listening, and happy Halloween, everybody.